It's interesting, when you look at world history, there has continually been men who try to rise up and create a world power. We see this with Hitler, men like Stalin, Mao Zedong. You see this throughout history, these men who arise and they're evil and they're given a position. And they find that position and they seek to gain world control, but something always happens, doesn't it? God always raises up a people or a nation, and that empire is put down. So we see this, I think, throughout history. Satan has had men and kings and leaders through which he worked, and God has always been at work through his people. And so there's never been a great world power. But imagine if Hitler had been able to control the world. Imagine if Stalin had been able to control the world. But God has restrained them, hasn't he? God has said, you only go this far and you don't go any further. Until what? Until the tribulation. And now this guy is given full world control. What has changed? What has changed is that the restrainer is gone. At this point, you have the worst of the worst given full power. And the best way I know to do it is the pit bull is loosed from his chain. And he's given free rein to rule this earth. You talk about a scary time. And so the world follows after this beast in verse 3. In verse 4, they worship the dragon because he gave his authority to the beast, and they worship the beast, saying, who is like the beast and who is able to wage war with him? This is the ultimate form of blasphemy. That the world attributes to Satan that which can only be attributed to God. And they worship the dragon. Notice there too, they're not worshiping. It says ultimately they're not worshiping the Antichrist or the beast. They're worshiping who? They're worshiping the dragon, which is Satan. In worshiping Antichrist, who they're ultimately worshiping is Satan. Very similar to when we worship Christ, who are we ultimately worshiping? We're worshiping God the Father. Here you see an entire world going after and falling underneath this one world leader known as Antichrist. And I don't know about you, but as I studied this, it was so hard for me to grasp. How in the world will we ever get to a day where the whole world will essentially come underneath one leader? But you know, the more I think about it, it's not so far-fetched, is it? That to many extents, this is what the world wants today, don't they? They want a world with no boundaries, no borders. We're all one. We're all equal. There's no distinctions. One world government. If we could just get underneath one guy who would rule us, and one currency. And in fact, we're going to see next week one religion. And that is exactly what's going to occur. If you want that, just reject Christ and stick around because you're going to get it one day. And believe me, the lie of Satan in the world is that if you get that, if we just all come underneath one guy and one government with one currency all equal, it'd bring about great good and peace. It will not bring about great good and peace. It'll bring about great evil because man and his sinfulness is flawed.